right, baby. Welcome back to I Think You Should Buy Podcast. We should be getting episode 18, 19 with this. We're getting close to the big 2-0. How you doing, brother?
Living the dream. Got a Tacoma firefighter with us today. And
Your store
got a
fine.
little pumpkin. Yeah, do you have the pumpkin cream cold brew with you still or no?
What's this a little bit? No, I already crushed it. But shout out to you for having the pumpkin cream cold brew as your buy the other week, because I went and dropped off our car. We just bought it, so we're doing kind of maintenance, getting the rear brakes done, which it needed, and we're doing 75 hard, of course. So I was like, hey, got to go drop the car off, and I don't have a car, might as well walk back. And so got a little cold brew to sip on the way back. Just a gorgeous way to start a day.
You can't beat that. You've been getting up super early too.
Yeah, 5 a.m. every day for like the last, month and a half or so. And yeah, I love it.
Did you guys get a car when you got there? This is a new car?
Not a new car, but yeah,
new car for you, I guess.
Yeah, it's like a 2013 like Nissan Sentra or something. Just a little Maui Cruiser is what they call them, kind of the older beater cars. But hey, it's perfect for us. We got a really good deal on it. And like we always talk about with business relationships, man. We literally were in an Uber to go buy a car from a dealership. Chat up our Uber driver. He was a real estate agent, just so happened to be. And he's like, oh, actually, one of my buddies owns a rental car company, and they sometimes sell. We should give him a call and maybe stop there before you go buy this other car. And we did, and we got it for like a third of the price. Like, just a huge discount. And then now we have like a good place to send all our friends and family to rent cars and get good deals when they come and visit. And get it all worked out. You never know what a conversation is gonna.
Dude, it's like the best referral source. It's word of mouth. Who you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what they say, like your network is your net worth.
Yeah, it's a little corny, but dude, it's true. Like to a certain extent, like your network is huge.
Can't agree more, brother.
Enough of the pleasantries here. Should we just get right into it? We got a big episode for the people today.
Yeah, big podcast episode today, and I think a lot of people are going to want to tune in, especially when they see the title, if they're thinking about buying a house.
Absolutely. So today we are doing a draft. We're going to have to flip a coin or something for first pick here, but we're going to do a 4-pick draft on the biggest mistakes that home buyers make. And yeah, I mean, we're just trying to think of things to keep the pod fresh. And I think we could use like this format for a lot of different things, but I think this is a great way to start it. And yeah, dude, I'm fired up. It's going to be fun.
I know, dude. How should we do this? You got a coin you can flip? Like going first is huge.
I know it is. I don't really know. Maybe we rock, paper, scissors.
Okay, I like that.
Best 2 out of 3.
You go rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Right? You're shooting on 4. All right, ready?
Yep. Okay, I got 1.
Oh, we're doing 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
All right, ready? Rock, papers, scissors, shoot. I think we might be delayed.
No, same again.
You take it. You won the first one. I'm gonna get it to you because we might be here for like 5 minutes, just both like.
That's elite podcasting for people that are only listening.
Yeah, all they hear is smacking of the fist.
Yeah. All right. Well, I won the first one, so I'm gonna pull up my notes here, and this one's a little cliche, but I think it's cliche for a reason, and that is pick number 1, drum roll, thinking that you need 20% down to buy. I think this is, as you know, like probably the headline that we see the most on social media. It gets a little annoying, but it's cliche for a reason. I hear this constantly from when I'm talking to people. They're like, oh, I don't have 20% down. I'm never going to have that. I'm like, well, basically nobody buys their first home with 20% down. So I think that is the biggest mistake, is people waiting and thinking that they need 20% down. Newsflash, you don't. You can put down as little as 3% on conventional, 3.5% FHA, which that's what most people do. And then if you want to get really creative, which I know you and me both do a ton of these, you can get down payment assistance to actually cover that full thing for you. So you can essentially buy your first home with none of your own money.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a buyer under contract right now, down payment assistance, $500,000 home, and they're bringing about $1,800 cash to close of their own money. So, I mean, it is and then you get to leverage that, and then grow your money off that, which your ROI on $1,800 is going to be pretty crazy for them. So I think that's number one.
That's a great way to start, dude. To be honest, I didn't even have that written down, which shame on me for not. But I'm gonna go. You kind of went a little mortgage related. I'm gonna go the opposite, and my first pick of the first time homebuyer mistake draft is going to be working with a real estate agent, or I'll throw in loan officer as well, that is part time. So I see it all the time where working with a first time homebuyer, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to work with my aunt. She's actually a secretary in an office, but she has her license, so she's going to help me buy. And then whether it's like not getting a good deal, or they're coming to me with questions on something that their real estate agent should have, or on the opposite end is like someone that's working with a loan officer that also isn't full time, and they're reaching out to other people to get their questions answered. So I would say that is just never the way to go, especially when you're purchasing your first home. It's the biggest financial debt you're going to take on. Get with a trusted advisor, whether it's an agent or a loan officer that's doing it every single day, so that you feel like you can trust them, and they're going to answer the phone when you need them to, because that's what their job is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get good at stuff with reps. So if you're doing something once, maybe twice a year, it's almost like you're doing it for the first time every time, because you're not doing it consistently enough to do that. So I think, that's a huge one. That's a great pick. I didn't even have that one. Are we snaking this or just going back and forth?
Oh, that's a good call. Let's go back and forth.
Yeah, I feel like it's only two people. Snake would be.
Yeah.
Okay, this is another one, and I'm going kind of mortgage on this one too, for two reasons though. And this is my second pick: looking at homes before you get pre-qualified.
Great, and this is great pick.
This is huge, because I think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you're, going and looking at homes that are all $600,000. Then you're setting that standard. You see them all; they're really nice. You're like, oh, we love all these. Then you're going to get pre-qualified, and you're only pre-qualified for 400, which is plenty. Yeah. I mean, say you could still find good stuff at that, but you've already set the standard for 600. Then you really kind of set yourself up for failure, because you're just kind of let down.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're wasting your real estate agent's time, because they wouldn't show you all these houses that you couldn't qualify for. You wasted your own time. When if you would have just done that first, set the expectations, and then you could have went and found that starter home for cheaper. So that's a huge one. You don't want to waste your time, the realtor's time. It takes a day or so to get pre-qualified. Just call your lender first. And I know all the real estate agents listening are celebrating hearing this right now, because it happens to them quite a bit too. So I think that's my pick number two.
I think to your point too, a lot of people on the flip side can qualify for $600,000, but they just don't want to have a $600,000 loan. Like they can afford it, but they don't want the payment, which is another reason why it's like, it's why it's so important to get pre-qualified, because maybe you do, but you're like, oh, we don't want to set ourselves up for that. So that, again, when you go and look at maybe the lower price point, it like ruins the excitement of when you actually go look at homes that you're actually probably going to purchase, opposed to, it's like any of us going to look at, $2-3 million homes. Like, well, now I'm not as excited to go look at the 600. You got to start somewhere, especially as a first time home buyer. So
yeah, no, that's a great point too. Because you could be like, oh, even if I am qualified, it's a $4,000 payment. I wanted to be capped at $3,000, and you don't really know that until you run the numbers. A lot of times, you're like, yeah, that payment will probably be in my budget. So I didn't even think about that part, but that's a great point.
Yeah, which leads me to kind of along the same talk regarding payment. I'd say, this is my rank for number two, and it's pretty cool. Neither of us have had the same yet, is first-time home buyers taking out debt before they get pre-qualified to buy a house, or during the process on taking out a house. So we're talking, buying a car, financing furniture. What other things have I seen? Going on a huge trip and, depleting maybe assets you were going to be planning on using to purchase a home. So that mistake, I think, is crucial, because it can really kill a deal or kill a potential deal. And what I mean by that is, buyers that they're like, hey, we're going to buy in 6 months, but I do want to buy this car before. And now that $500 car payment is not allowing them to purchase the home at 500,000, and it's bringing their pre-qualification down by 100 grand. So that's one of the biggest mistakes I see all the time. And then if you are under contract, don't buy a car, don't take out any new debt. I had a client ask me if they could go get a tattoo. So if you're listening, I thought it was a hilarious question, but you can still live your everyday life, right? You can still go buy you go out for a $200 dinner or get a tattoo. It's going to be more so things that are financed that are going to come up on your credit report. So that's can be a deal killer, whether you're already under contract or you're thinking about buying. It's just like, end of the story is try to postpone it until you get into the house.
Yeah, and the easy way to think about it is every dollar that you have going towards a debt is a dollar that now can't be going towards your mortgage. So if you go buy a car and the payment's $500, that's now $500 a month that's allocated to pay that, and that can't pay a mortgage. So that could really change your debt to income. And to add on to that, because it's a great point, and I had that one written down too, and it was definitely going to be one of my next couple picks. So good job at stealing that. But just moving money around too, that doesn't need to be, because every time you move a big chunk of money around, we have to then show the paper trail. So if you're doing all this stuff, just kind of sit tight, let things the way they are until we close. So, that's a great one.
On that note, before we forget, just to throw in here too, if you're thinking about co-signing on somebody's debt, think about what that could do for anything you want to finance. Because anytime you co-sign with somebody, it shows up on your name when you have your credit report pulled. So other thing to factor in when opening up debt, whether it's not, if it's yours or not, as long as your name's on it, it's yours technically.
Yeah, that's a great one too. And a lot of people don't think about that. Cool. I'm going to go on my next one. And this is kind of vague, but I'll get a little bit more granular with it as well.
Yeah, get granular.
Yeah, I got you. Mistake number 3 is just waiting. If you're pre-qualified and can afford it, I mean, obviously you don't want to rush into anything. You need to be comfortable with the purchase. You need to be ready. But at the same time, you're almost never really ready. You kind of have to make the jump at some point. And I have so many people that I've talked to over the last 5 years that we get them pre-approved. They're looking at homes, and then they're like, I'm just going to wait one more year or whatever. I don't feel ready or whatever it might be. And some reasons are totally valid. I'm not saying that it's not. But a lot of the times it's just people are like, I'm not. It's still a little scary.
Comfort, dude. It's 100%. It's comfort.
Yeah. To really do anything worth it in life, typically you have to do something that's a little uncomfortable. Like we've talked about before on the pod, we do this every day for people, and we still get butterflies, and we buy homes and things like that. So I think that's the biggest one, because if I had $1 for every time this happened, I'd be a rich man. We get someone pre-approved, they end up waiting a year, and then when we get them pre-approved again, they're like, shoot, these same houses I was looking at are now $50,000 more, and maybe rates are up or whatever. So now it's X amount more for me to buy that home, whether it be the purchase price or the payment. So it's always going to be a little scary. If you can afford it, even if it's a little scary, it's typically your later self will thank you. I know both of us, like, it was scary for us. And then now us buying our homes have completely changed our financial status, and we're setting ourselves up for the future. I love going and looking like, what has my home price done? What is these rents doing that I'm collecting now? And, I think all the clients, I don't really have any clients that have regretted it that I've heard of personally. I think just waiting is the biggest one.
Yeah, that could very well be number one on the draft for sure. And yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, it's like, it's just a comfort thing. Like, dude, nobody likes moving. It's horrible. Yeah. I don't know. I've never talked to anybody that gets excited about moving, like the actual process of moving. Just had that conversation with a couple last week, and it was super real. It was just like, hey guys, like you bring in good income, you have a very low debt to income ratio. And the reality is, and I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but when your rent's say $2,500 and your mortgage payment's going to go up to $3,000, as a couple, most of the time, again, I'm kind of speaking broadly, but that couple is still probably spending $3,000 output every month to go out to a nicer dinner, or maybe they buy a new pair of shoes. So you're spending it in one spot or another. It's up to you. And this is the conversation I had, is like, you can afford it, and you're probably spending that money already. Now it's just for you guys. Like, are you willing to get out of your comfort zone and make a commitment to now own a property? And that's the decision you have to make. It's because it's not about the money, and it's not about, does this financially make sense? Because we've already talked about it. It makes sense. It's just now, it's an emotional transaction. So it's a great pick. I love it. I don't want to ramble on it too much. I had that written down, obviously, especially if we attach it to rates, like I'm going to wait for rates to drop. Mine's pretty broad for number 3, my third pick, which is just not asking enough questions. I think a lot of the time, first time home buyers, myself included, when I bought my first house, was like, I think everyone runs into it, is like, you don't want to ask dumb questions. And there's also a lot of moving parts. And so you find yourself, instead of like maybe taking the 10 to 15 minutes to ask 3-4 questions that you want to get answers on, although they might be kind of dumb. Like myself personally, I look back and like, I wish I would have just said like, hey, what do we have to do on this inspection? Or, hey, do we need to come and show up to this appraisal? Or what does this typically look like for there's so many questions you can ask. And so being in the business and obviously in purchasing a couple homes, I think it's nice to, as a loan officer or whether a real estate agent, to make sure you're engaging with a first-time home buyer and saying like, do you have any questions? Constantly reminding them, if you have questions, please feel free to ask. And reiterating, like, there's no dumb questions, because you've never bought a house before. You don't know what to ask. So if anything crossed your mind, but I think you see it a lot as people go through the entire process and then they realize at the end, like, oh shoot, I wish I would have done this or that, or asked this question.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a great pick. And it's something like I constantly say to people, I'm like, there's no dumb questions. If there's anything you're wondering, ask it, because I promise you it's going to save you in the long run. Because a lot of the times it's things that they don't ask, and then it can cause a problem, before closing or whatever, or, even after they close. And they're like, shoot, I didn't know this. So ask it, because you're kind of the theme of what we're saying. Your later self will thank you. Yeah. And it could end up saving a deal. And maybe you're not asking it, and then it makes a mistake that, like you said, maybe they're like, well, I want to buy a car, but maybe I should ask my lender. I'm just going to do it. I don't want to bug it. And then you just made it so you can't buy the house anymore. So that's a great pick.
You're getting lended $500,000, and that's in it's a debt against your name. Like, so you're entitled to ask any question you want. Like, at the end of the day, it's a transaction, but it's still your money. So I try to reiterate, just, you need to ask whatever questions you can. You can negotiate anything you want, but you can't get what you don't ask for at the end of the day. So huge mistake. If you're looking at trying to buy, ask questions.
Absolutely. And dude, we're already on the last pick here. I'm looking at my list, and there's quite a few. We could probably do a couple episodes on this, but I got to narrow it down. And I think my last one, I'm going to go with only caring about your interest rate for pick number 4, which is, this one could be a little controversial, I think. And that's kind of why I wanted to pick it, so we could talk about it. But obviously, you want the lowest rate you can get. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But that being said, a lot of the rates that are getting quoted and stuff like that are because of a big fee. I could quote anyone a 5% rate right now, but it just might cost them a $20,000 fee to get it. I'm making these numbers up, but any lender can quote, super low rates, but it depends where they're at on the rate sheet that day and how expensive they are to get. And I see that so often, where maybe someone's talking to me and another lender, like, well, this person's quoting me this. It's quite a bit better. I always show at least 3 options, because I want to educate and have them make the decision for themselves, where another lender might just show them a really low rate. And then my first thing is always, send me the estimate. They send it. I was like, so I can go over it with you and educate you, because usually this lender isn't. And a lot of the times they're charging a big fee. And I'm like, hey, this could totally make sense, but let's do the math and calculate your break even. It doesn't break even for 5 years. Does it really make sense? And that's where us asking questions come in. Hey, do you want to be in this home for 5-10 years? Are you going to want to just buy this and have it be a stepping stone to your next home? Is it going to be a rental? Do you plan to maybe flip it or whatever it might be? And a lot of times the higher rate makes sense, because they're like, oh, I'm not even going to break even on that investment to buy it down, which sounds a little bit backwards, but the numbers don't lie. All we got to do, it's super easy calculation typically, is we just got to calculate your break even. And that will either tell us it's black and white, kind of, does it make sense or does it not? And a lot of people just aren't educated. And unfortunately, there's some people that don't put in the time, or maybe don't want to put in the time to educate people like that, because they just want to win and get a deal closed. So I think not asking the questions and actually who you work with really matters, because maybe that lender, like we talked about the other day, and I'm going to shut up here because we're getting close to time, but I had someone working with Rocket, and they just said, yeah, you're pre-qualified or whatever. And they got pre-qualified with me too. And I said, hey, we can't close on this home at the time that you're wanting to. We need to push it back because your lending guidelines, I don't need to get into exactly why, but they wouldn't have known that. And to some companies that are more call center type, you're just a number. They're going to pre-approve 10 people knowing that they'll close them maybe on 6 or 7, but they're never going to see you or anything. So you're just kind of a number, to where I took the time to educate them. I'm like, hey, if you would have went under contract with this lender, it would have cost you your earnest money, because you due to lending guidelines, if you actually look, you wouldn't have been able to close until a couple of weeks later. So I think not just looking at rate, look at who you're working with, and understanding what rate actually makes sense for you is a steal at number 4.
Yeah, 100%, man. There's more to it than just getting the lowest possible payment. And it sounds weird coming from, two guys that are dealing with finances and numbers. And obviously, especially in the economy we're in right now, everybody wants the lowest payment. But I think to just conclude on what you're trying to say is, like, there's more to it than just trying to work with somebody that's going to get you the best possible deal when it comes to rate, because there's more to a transaction than that.
And a lot of the times you can get the best of both worlds. I mean, you can, get a really low rate and, be educated. And sometimes it does totally make sense, but let's run the numbers and figure out if it does or not. That's all.
Yeah, 100%. I like it. Going on my last pick here, and it's honestly just anybody that doesn't work with me, just because I feel like as a first-time home buyer, it doesn't make sense to work with anybody else. But I'm just kidding. Mine's researching the neighborhood that you're looking at purchasing, whether it's like driving through the neighborhood, doing your online research, whether it's like crime reports, anything else that would come up that you want to be aware of that's going on in the neighborhood. I think driving around it usually or typically is like the easiest way to get a good feel, especially with like noise, neighbors, how clean is the streets, what's around you. And then on top of that, even looking into the future, like, what is that neighborhood's plan or streets around the neighborhood? Like, is there going to be new construction? Is there going to be more stuff coming in? Because all that stuff is going to help appreciate your home's value. Like, for example, is there going to be more job opportunities that are going to be present in that area, which is meaning more people are going to move in, which is meaning the demand's going to go up. So I think depending on as a first-time home buyer too, sometimes we're getting into a lot of specifics because there's so many things we could talk about. I think that really is important, because I can't tell you how many times you hear about first-time home buyers not doing a lot of research. They buy the house and they find out, there's 2 neighbors down the road that their house is trashed. There's dogs 2 doors down that bark all night. And the only way you can really find that out is by like scoping out the area, trying to talk with people and do your due diligence.
Yeah, that's a fantastic pick. And, if you have good lenders like yourself and I, we have tools that we can help you with. I mean, I have paid for a tool where I can put in your zip code. It'll tell you what that zip code specifically has done historically for appreciation, what it's projected to do, give you the crime reports, population, kind of like census tracts for that specific zip code. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that not your typical lender will do, but a good one like myself and Nick will. And, things that we pay for so we can help people with stuff like that other people don't. So yeah, that's a great pick. And we're coming up on a half hour here. So I think maybe we just save the buys and sells for our next episode. You think?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Hopefully that was useful. I think a lot of people that are hoping to purchase within the next 6 to 12 months, this is like a really good video to watch, and you can play get the playback speed, put it to like 0.5, so it's a little quicker, but get to the bullet points, and we'll list those in the caption too, so people, maybe we can do some timestamps to have them take them to each.
In the caption, we'll put both of our picks, and I want everybody to, and I think this would be fun. I mean, we're both really good buddies. We're competitive. I think we start doing these drafts more and then we keep a tally of who's winning. So I think for everybody listening, go in the comments, shoot us a DM, whatever it is, say who you think won this draft, take all of our picks and see who you think's better. And then, that'll give us something fun to do too. Maybe get a little rivalry going. A year from now, we've done 10 drafts and we're 5-5 or whatever. It'll be kind of fun. So I'll put a poll in the comments on Spotify at least, and then on YouTube. Shoot us a text, shoot us a DM or a comment would be great, and let us know who you think won, and that'll be kind of fun for us going forward too.
Yeah, for sure. We'll do a little wager for it. Like one of us has to dress up in a clown suit. Whoever doesn't get to 5.
We'll have a reward and punishment for winners and losers. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, we're trying to keep these under half hour for you guys. I think this was good. This was fun too. I think this will be really fun doing stuff like this going forward. So, all right, brother. Well, we'll see you guys on the next episode. I appreciate the listening as always, and no buys and sells this week. And I've got a couple hot ones, so stay tuned for the next episode as well.
All right, sweet, brother. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, peace.